My husband hit me over the oversalted soup, then went to bed as if nothing had happened. In the morning, he brought some concealer. Mom's coming over cover up those bruises and act happy. After that, he headed off to work, but as he stepped into the boss's office, he turned pale. And before we continue, write in the comments from which country you're watching the video, and also check if you're subscribed to the channel, as I share interesting life stories with you every day. Okay, let's enjoy the story. Hannah never imagined her life would turn out like this. Just a few years ago, she thought she'd found her happiness. When she first met Marcus, he seemed like the most dependable man in the world. He knew how to court her beautifully, bringing flowers, opening doors, reciting poetry from memory. Though later, she realized those weren't his own lines, just snippets he'd picked up online. But back then, it all felt real. She was blinded by his attention and confidence. Marcus knew how to make an impression. Tall, athletic, with strong arms and a heavy gaze, he dominated any space he entered. At gatherings with friends, he always became the center of attention, cracking jokes, sharing work stories, keeping any conversation alive. Everyone said, "Hannah, you're so lucky. A guy like that is holding on to you. Be happy." She smiled and nodded, though deep inside, she often felt a strange unease, like something hidden lurked behind that charm that no one else saw. The first twinge of worry came before the wedding. Marcus could suddenly go silent, staring at her with a predatory glint if she talked too long with someone else. He'd demand explanations. "Why were you texting your friend so late? Why didn't you pick up my call right away? Who's that guy you're greeting so cheerfully?" At first, Hannah saw it as jealousy, even a sign of care. She'd laugh, hug him, say, "Come on, I'm all yours." But gradually, the jealousy turned into control. After the wedding, Marcus insisted they move into his apartment. It was spacious but cold gray wallpaper, stark furniture, no cozy touches. Hannah tried to warm it up, hanging light curtains, setting out framed photos, adding potted plants, but Marcus scowled. "Take that down. Get rid of those tacky pictures. This isn't some girly mess, it's my home," she obeyed. With each removed photo, it felt like a piece of herself vanished too. The small arguments seemed every day at first. He'd yell at her for underseasoned food, a shirt not ironed just right, chatting too long with a neighbor. Then came the calm spells. He'd give gifts, buy jewelry, hold her hand in public. Hannah got used to thinking that's how it was supposed to be. Every family had ups and downs. But one day, it escalated to the first real blow. Hannah forgot to buy his favorite wine for dinner. Marcus came home angry, tense. She smiled and said, "No big deal, I'll grab some tomorrow." In response, he raised his hand and slapped her across the cheek. The strike was sharp, unexpected, and for seconds, Hannah couldn't believe it had happened. He apologized the next day, bought a huge bouquet of roses, took her to a restaurant, whispered sweet words. "I was wrong. Forgive me. Rough day at work. It won't happen again." And she believed him. But it did happen again. Hannah gradually learned to read his mood from a single glance. She lived in constant alertness, never argue, never question, never show fatigue. She was becoming a shadow of herself. Her friend Natalie noticed the changes. A few times, she spotted bruises on Hannah's arms, but Hannah always had an excuse. Fell down, bumped the table, ran into the door. One day, Natalie couldn't hold back. "Hannah, tell me the truth. Does he hit you?" Hannah froze, her throat tightening, but she forced out, "No, everything's fine. I'm just clumsy." Natalie gave her a long, heavy look but didn't push, only adding quietly, "Remember, if you ever want to leave, I'm right here." Hannah still didn't call. She was scared of being alone, scared no one would believe her, scared Marcus would take everything, the apartment, the money, even her chance at a normal life. And then came that evening, the breaking point. Hannah had tried all day, cooking his favorites, light chicken soup, vegetable salad, mashed potatoes. She wanted a peaceful night. Marcus had promised they'd talk about a beach trip. A tiny hope flickered inside. Maybe he'd change? Maybe this was temporary? Marcus came home irritated, tossed his jacket on a chair, sat at the table, and ate in silence. Hannah set the soup in front of him. He took a spoonful, and his face twisted. "Are you mocking me?" His voice rang with fury. "What is this slop? Oversalted?" Hannah whispered in confusion. "Sorry, I must have slipped up." But she didn't finish. He slammed the spoon down, jumped up, and slapped her across the face. Hannah staggered, nearly falling. Her cheek burned, vision blurred, and Marcus calmly sat back, opened the fridge, and grabbed the mash. He ate heartily as if nothing had happened. Hannah stood against the wall, hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled, but she held them back. Inside, everything raged. Hurt, pain, fear, despair. For the first time, she thought, this will never end, never. Late that night, Marcus slept soundly, snoring loudly, as if he hadn't raised a hand to her hours before. In the morning, he entered the kitchen with a tube of concealer in hand. His voice was cold. "Mom's coming today. Cover it all up and smile. I don't want her seeing your made-up stories." He shoved it at her, threw on his coat, and left. Hannah stood alone. Tears finally broke free. Hannah sat in the kitchen, clutching the concealer tube. She twisted it, as if it held some answer. It smelled sharply cosmetic, symbolizing the intrusion into her life. Her husband had literally handed her a mask, the facade of a happy wife. She stared long into the mirror. The bruise on her cheek swelled, skin under her eye turning blue. She sighed and opened the tube anyway. Applied it carefully, slowly, to hide the marks. But in the reflection, she didn't see herself. She saw a woman cornered. Inside, a heavy, oppressive silence grew. Hannah knew if she kept silent, one day she wouldn't get up after the next blow. She remembered her mom's words. "Enduring for the family's sake isn't heroic, it's a path to nowhere." Back then, Hannah had laughed. She'd thought her life would be different: strong family, reliable husband, troubles to weather. Now, her mom's words echoed like a warning bell. A couple hours later, her mother-in-law arrived. Hannah heard her steps, early, quick, confident, heels clicking up the stairs. Vivian always entered like the house was hers alone. "Well, Hannah, how's life treating you?" she chirped from the doorway, not even shedding her coat. "Oh, you look so pale. Are you eating right?" Hannah smiled. Her face muscles ached from the forced grin. Vivian noticed nothing, or chose not to. They sat at the table, sipping tea. The woman ranted about a neighbor who'd let herself go and divorced her husband. Can you imagine? Ditching her family over nonsense. Now she's alone, unwanted. Hannah listened in silence. Each word stung. Vivian overlooked the bruise, the exhaustion in her eyes. To her, only one thing mattered: her son living comfortably. In that moment, Hannah realized clearly, no help from here. When Vivian left, Hannah grabbed her phone, stared at the screen, hesitated but dialed Natalie. "Hannah," came the voice, "what's wrong?" Only then did the whisper escape. "Nat, I can't do this anymore." Natalie paused a second, then said firmly, "Come to me today." Hannah gripped the phone, wanted to agree, but a thought flashed. What if he finds out? What if he takes everything? Where would I go? "No, I can't," she forced out. "He'll come home from work, notice. Hannah, hear yourself?" Her friend's voice trembled. "You're scared to even leave the house." "This isn't living." But Hannah whispered again, "I can't," and hung up. That evening, she sat on the couch, pretending to read, letters blurred before her eyes. She waited for Marcus. Every sound outside made her flinch. Time dragged torturously, visions swirled, him entering angry, yelling again. But when the door opened, it was different. Marcus entered oddly quiet. His face pale, lips tight. He didn't glance at Hannah, kicked off his shoes, walked to the living room, and sat silently on the couch. Hannah felt unease. Usually after work, he'd grumble, demand dinner. Today, silence. She asked cautiously, "Something wrong?" Marcus spun sharply. His eyes filled with raw fear. "Shut up," was all he said. Hannah froze. Only later did she learn what happened. A few days earlier, Natalie had mustered courage and called Marcus's office. She spoke directly to the boss, anonymously but with details. Address, last name, injury types. "You have an employee beating his wife," she said firmly. "If you turn a blind eye, it won't just hurt her, your reputation's at stake too." The boss was skeptical at first, but the call aligned with neighbors' complaints about noise and shouts from their apartment. One resident had filed an official police report, hitting the database automatically. When it all matched, the boss knew it was real. That morning, after shoving the concealer at her and leaving, Marcus entered the boss's office. It was a routine meeting, projects, plans, reports, all normal until the boss turned on the screen. "Marcus, we need to talk seriously," he said. "The company's in a tough spot. On screen. Photos. What's this? The boss asked. Word is, your wife shows up at friends' work with marks like these. They say it's your doing. Marcus's world crumbled. He tried excuses. She fell. It's her fault. Accident. But his words rang weak, empty. Colleagues stared silently, judging. For the first time, Marcus realized his secret wasn't secret anymore. Now he sat at home, pale, lost. Hannah watched him cautiously, wondering what came next, another explosion or hiding. For the first time, she saw not just anger in his eyes, but fear. And in that moment, something new stirred in her quiet but firm resolve. She wouldn't be his victim anymore. Hannah woke early. She'd barely slept all night. Her husband lay beside her, snoring, but she knew one wrong move could set him off. So she breathed evenly, quietly. With dawn's first rays, a thought echoed one she'd tried to push away. This is her chance. Now or never. In the kitchen, Marcus sat grim, sipping coffee, eyes down. His fingers tapped nervously on the mug. Where are you off to? Hannah asked carefully as he shrugged on his jacket. Work, he snapped. Boss again. He shot her a sharp look, rage and worry mixed in it. How do you know? She lowered her eyes. She knew saying too much would worsen it, so she whispered quietly, guessed. Marcus slammed the door and left. Hannah stood in the kitchen, gripping the table to steady herself. His edginess scared her more than shouts or hits because now he wasn't in control, and that meant he could snap any time. In truth, Marcus wasn't heading to work. He was summoned to the boss's carpet where they waited. You get the mess you're in? The boss said coldly. In a company building its reputation, we can't have someone accused of domestic abuse. Marcus tried defenses, family squabbles, wifely whims, but his voice whined pathetically. I'll give you time, the boss said. But if one word proves true, kiss your job goodbye. For Marcus, it was worse than a punch. Work was his only power spot. Now even there, the ground slipped away. Meanwhile, Hannah sat in the kitchen, sifting thoughts. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with Natalie's texts. Hannah, come to me, I'll help. You're not alone. Please don't wait for worse. She reread them, feeling warmth for the first time in ages. Natalie didn't judge, didn't push. She was just there. Hannah went to the mirror and stared at her reflection again. The bruise had faded but still betrayed her. In that instant, something clicked. I won't hide anymore. She opened the closet and pulled out an old suitcase, packed lightly just essentials. Documents, some clothes, a few parent photos. Hands shook. Each move brought visions. Him walking in, seeing. But fear didn't stop her. That evening the door slammed again. Marcus entered weary, furious, bottle in hand. Alcohol stench filled the apartment. What's for dinner? He asked, not glancing at his wife. Hannah clenched her fingers. She knew. This is the test. She could submit again, set the table, pretend normal, or say what had brewed in her soul. She inhaled deeply and said firmly, no dinner. Marcus froze, turned slowly, like a beast sensing threat. What did you say? No dinner and I won't be here anymore. He hurled the bottle at the wall, glass shattered. Wine splattered like blood. You've lost your mind? You're nothing without me. No one would want you. Hannah didn't back down. For the first time, she met his eyes straight. Better alone than with you. Those words ignited him. He stepped forward, hand raised. But the phone rang. Marcus halted. Screen lit. The boss. He hesitated, then answered, yes, listening. His voice shifted. What? Investigation? No, I'll handle it. He paled further, collapsing onto the couch like a deflated balloon. Hannah saw him breaking. Job, reputation, power all crumbling. For the first time, she felt no fear, just cold resolve. While he hunched over his phone, Hannah quietly grabbed the suitcase. Heart pounded so loud, it seemed the whole apartment heard. She slipped to the hallway, donned her coat. Marcus lifted his head. Where do you think you're going? She looked at him calmly. Somewhere I'll be respected, and walked out, not waiting for a reply. Outside, the air was crisp, fresh. She breathed it deep for the first time in ages. The suitcase was heavy, but lighter with each step. Her phone rang. Natalie, Hannah, where are you? Hannah smiled through tears. On my way to you. And in that moment, she knew her life was just beginning. Months had passed since that fateful night when Hannah walked out the door, suitcase in hand, leaving behind the shadows of fear and control. Staying with Natalie had been her lifeline, a cozy spare room filled with sunlight and the comforting hum of a friend's unwavering support. Natalie helped her file for divorce, connected her with a counselor who specialized in domestic abuse survivors, and even lined up job interviews. Hannah dove into therapy, unpacking years of buried pain, learning to reclaim her voice and her worth. She started a part-time job at a local bookstore, surrounding herself with stories of resilience that mirrored her own emerging strength. Life wasn't perfect. Nights still brought echoes of doubt, but each day she felt a little more like the woman she'd once been. Vibrant, independent, unafraid. Yet, closure lingered just out of reach. Marcus hadn't vanished quietly. At first, he bombarded her phone with texts alternating between rage-filled threats and tearful pleas for forgiveness. "Come back, Hannah, I can change. This is all a misunderstanding." She blocked him, but whispers from mutual friends painted a picture of his unraveling. He'd lost his job after the boss's investigation confirmed the complaints, his reputation in tatters as colleagues distanced themselves. Vivian, his mother, had tried calling once, her voice laced with denial. "You blew this out of proportion, dear. Men have tempers, it's how they are." Hannah hung up without a word, realizing some people would never see the truth. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon when Hannah received a court summons for the final divorce hearing. Her heart raced as she entered the sterile courtroom, Natalie by her side for moral support. Marcus was already there, slouched in his seat, looking diminished, his athletic frame now hunched, eyes hollow from sleepless nights and mounting legal fees. As the judge reviewed the evidence, police reports from neighbors, photos of bruises Hannah had finally documented, testimonies from Natalie, and even a former colleague who'd witnessed Marcus's volatile temper, the air thickened with tension. Marcus stood to speak, his voice cracking for the first time Hannah could remember. I never meant to hurt her. It was stress from work, from life. I'll get help, therapy, anger management. Please, give me another chance." But his words rang hollow, echoes of the same excuses that had kept her trapped. Hannah met his gaze steadily, her own voice clear and unshaken as she addressed the court. "I've given chances. Too many. This isn't about revenge, it's about my freedom. I deserve a life without fear." The judge's gavel fell like a thunderclap, divorce granted, with a restraining order in place. Marcus's face crumpled, but Hannah felt only a profound release, as if invisible chains had shattered. Outside the courthouse, under clearing skies, Natalie hugged her tight. "You did it! You're free!" In the months that followed, Hannah's world blossomed. She moved into a small apartment of her own, bright curtains, photos on every wall, plants thriving in the sunlight. She reconnected with old friends, joined a support group where she shared her story and inspired others. And one crisp fall day, while browsing at a coffee shop, she met Alex, a kind-eyed teacher with a gentle laugh who listened without judgment and celebrated her strength. Their dates were simple joys, walks in the park, shared books, conversations that flowed like healing rivers. For the first time, love felt safe, reciprocal, empowering. As winter approached, Hannah stood at her window, watching snowflakes dance. Marcus had faded into the past. Last she'd heard, he was in mandatory counseling, facing probation for the abuse reports. Vivian had gone silent, perhaps grappling with her own regrets, but Hannah no longer dwelled there. She touched the small pendant necklace Alex had given her, a symbol of new beginnings, and smiled. Her life wasn't just beginning, it was thriving, a testament to the courage that blooms from the darkest soil.